Hey everybody. I'm not going to be here today at school, so I thought I'd record you a little tutorial of things I wanted to check out. If I sound a little funny, I got a bunch of gauze stuck to my nose, so hopefully that's not too distracting. Um, if you ever want to look something up about HTML or CSS, there's a great website called W3Schools.com. It's a free site, and it's one of the biggest sites on the web for learning how to do things. So it actually has, if you look over here, it has a lot of tutorials about HTML, HTML5, which we'll talk about at some point, which is kind of the new style HTML, and CSS, along with some fancier things like JavaScript and Ajax and all those things. But for right now, if you just click on HTML, you'll actually see that there is a lot of basic examples. If you notice, there's some things that we've talked about already. There's things like elements, attributes, headings. So headings and paragraphs we talked about, doing a little bit of formatting and links. So skip over the formatting. We're really going to do the formatting with the CSS, but I want you to click on links right now for the time being. It actually pops up a nice little description of links, and it talks about this thing called the A tag, which is how you set up a link. Okay. Pay particular attention to this part in the middle of the page. This is what the A tag does. It can either make a link to another site, okay, or it can actually be used to make a link that's sort of inside the page. We call that a jump link, okay. How all these pages are set up, it tells you a little bit about the syntax, okay. You'll notice here with the A tag, you specify A, you specify href, which is the hypertext reference or hyperlink reference, and then they put in URL here, but basically you put in like www.google.com or whatever you want, and that's going to be like what the actual link goes to. Then you can say, type in whatever you want, click here, and this will show up. So they have a nice little example here. Well, that's all nice and good. We like to read, but if you keep scrolling down, you get something that says try it yourself. So if you click try it yourself, it's very nice. It actually pops up a little editor, a simple editor, and you can make changes and they become live right away. So for instance, if I wanted to change this to be Google, okay, and I said visit google.com, if I just click this, notice changes over here, okay? And if I click on that, oh, excellent, it popped up Google. Hooray, okay? Notice here that they have something called a target, and they put blank. What this means is that it's going to try to open it in a new tab, okay? You could change that to open up in the same window. If you don't put anything there, it defaults to loading it up in the same window. So we'll talk a lot about this, different things you can do with these A tags later on. This is really the basic activity here. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go, you guys have been collecting information. Now you can start building a nice little bibliography. So go to, you might want to make a nice little heading like this that says, okay, and basically we're just going to keep track of where we got our information, right? So in this case, there's our heading 1, and then we're going to do some paragraph, right? One paragraph, we might say, google.com. Actually, instead of doing a paragraph, we'll put in our little link. Okay? And so on and so forth. Okay, close off the tag. And I'll put a little break at the end of it to say, hey, we want it to go on the next line. Cool, right? And just make a little list of, the sites you're using, right? That's really nice because then you don't have to search for them again or bookmark them. They'll all be right on your site so you can look them up. So that's the first thing I really wanted you guys to check out. And the second particular thing that I'd like you to look at is images. So if we go back here to the links, or the links page, you have a little link to the image, and I just want you to take a look at how the image tag works. Okay, now there's a couple of different ways to get at this. But one is that you'll notice that there's a source, and there's this thing called the alt. The source is actually the link to the file, and for right now, you're probably going to link to things that you search for on the web, but later on, I'll show you how to link to files that you've saved on your computer, because there's something to note about that. But in this alt, really, you just want to describe the picture. Okay, if you ever hover over a picture with your mouse and there's alt text, it'll kind of say what it is, or if it's broken, like the file's not loading, it'll say what it should be. And it's actually kind of important because some browsers, like ones that work for people that are blind, right, they'll actually read the alt tags out loud. So if you have a good alt tag, it's actually nice for a variety of people. So if you want to play around with this a little bit, you can hit try yourself. Okay. And you'll notice there's a couple of attributes. You can actually specify the width and the height, and if there's a border around it, and so on and so forth. We'll actually do that stuff with HTML to some degree later on, or not HTML, with CSS later on. But this is actually one where I might really want to make sure that the image is a certain size. So we can use that to actually crop an image or stretch it or shrink it. Centering it's a little bit trickier. We'll talk about that a different time. So hopefully this website is useful to you, especially if not me there. There's a lot of good information. And so basically what I'd like you to do is add a couple of links, add a couple of pictures. That's your task for today. Okay, cheers.